Hello everyone, this is Harshit Singh, and here I'm going to talk about data science. As you can see, it is an introduction course which we are going to cover here. Going forward, let's see what are the table of contents. Firstly, we'll be talking about the definition and the terminologies. Secondly, we'll be defining the analytics. Thirdly, we'll be talking about what are the types of analytics which we have and we are going to cover in the next coming sessions. Fourthly, what are the data science roles which you can go through and how they actually interact with each other. Lastly, in this session, we'll be covering about analytics frameworks. Right now, you can just keep all these 5 points in your mind: definitions, defining analytics, types of analytics, data science roles, and analytics frameworks in your mind. Going forward, one by one, we'll be covering all these topics. Firstly, definitions and terminologies. Because in the market, you see there are a lot of terms like data science, data mining, data analytics. So here we are clearly defining those terms. So first, we see what is data science. Data science is a set of fundamental principles that guide the extraction of knowledge from data. It's just saying that you have some data. These principles of data science, they are going to help you in extracting knowledge from that data. Secondly, if we talk about data mining, now data mining is the extraction of knowledge from data, same way as data science is helping us out. But here we are using the words technologies. So data mining is the extraction of knowledge from data via technologies that incorporate these principles. So if you're able to get it, what we are doing here, first we talked about principles. Okay, there are a set of principles which are under the domain of data science. They help in extraction of knowledge from data. Now, but these principles, if they are embedded in technologies, then we relate it to data mining. Lastly, we talk about data analytics also. So data analytics thinking is just a process of following the above principles in a structured way. So these are the three definitions which are used interchangeably also in the market. But if you have to define them in three different structures or three different formats or three different ways, this is the way you can go about doing it. Now, as in the last sentence, we were talking about defining analytics. So here we'll be further defining analytics also. So people perceive analytics as maybe a measurement, that analytics is a synonym of statistics or metrics. That okay, you are giving an example of website analytics. If you can see here, that how many views came in, how it's a numbers game which you're talking about. Okay, number of points scored, that is also a measurement. Sometimes people correlate analytics with measurement. There are people who correlate analytics with data science also, as in data analytics, predictive analytics, which we are going to cover in the coming sessions. And by data science, you're already aware of the definition which we covered in the last slide. Lastly, people perceive analytics as also an approach to managerial decision making, as in when the business decides on going on one particular direction, that is a decision which they are taking on the basis of data. And there they actually perceive that decision making with analytics. So, analytics is used in a very general way to represent a quantitative approach to organizational decision making. You can check out the sources also from where these data are taken. They are actually available on the right side in the page. So when we are discussing about analytics also, we discuss about what are the types of analytics which we have. As you are aware, we discuss in the table of contents. One by one, we are covering those parts. So Now we'll be discussing about what are the types of analytics which we see. Firstly, the descriptive and the inferential analytics. Now, descriptive and inferential analytics just gives us an insight of what has occurred already. This could be statistically significant or visually mapped. When we talk about this, you can think about some bar charts or maybe graphs in your imagination. So, that is when you are describing that data. Okay. Or from a statistical point of view, also, we'll be covering other points. But this is how you are describing a data and you are inferring some points out of it. So this comes into the descriptive and inferential analytics. While there is another side also, that is of predictive analytics. That is, it provides a short-term metrics and assist organizations in what's happening and how things are going on. It measures metrics individually and doesn't evaluate the overall impact, but it is just telling you about that metric and how it can impact in the overall business. So, predictive, by the word itself, you can understand that okay, we are predicting something. Okay, we are predicting a value or we are predicting maybe it is A or B. That is a classification technique. So, very simply, we are predicting a particular value or maybe deciding okay if we have to go left or right. So going forward we'll be understanding more about it, but currently you should just get a hang of how different it is, as in when we are describing a data and when we are predicting something from that data for the next things. But when we talk about the next things, then comes the prescriptive analytics. Now, prescriptive analytics provides the insights on what to do next and how to go about doing it. It evaluates all the metrics from the business outcome perspective. Okay, so if you see the differences between descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive, when we talk about descriptive, we are describing that data. Okay, this is what has happened. Okay, this is what you see. Predictive is something where you are actually predicting what can be the next possible scenario, or in a particular how a particular metric can behave going forward. This you are predicting. Prescribing is something overall from a business point of view, when all the metrics are being decided and that you have analyzed all the metrics, then overall from a business standpoint you are actually prescribing something. Now we'll be talking about types of analytics. Again, as discussed, descriptive and inferential analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. If you see, these are the types which we discussed before. Further going forward, these are the methods which we use. As in, for describing, we use data distribution, we use visualization, we use summarization. Similarly, for predictive analytics, if we see regression, classification, clustering, network analysis. When we talk about prescribing, it is talking about what we prescribe for the next going forward, that is recommender systems or mathematical models. So currently you don't have to go deep into it. We'll be covering each and every topic one by one, but you can just keep those names in your mind, because when you are making mind maps from this perspective, you'll remember okay where we are discussing when we are discussing about regression, from where it is actually getting connected, or if we are discussing about data visualization, where it is actually getting connected. So these are the methods which we use. And finally, the tools from a data mining perspective, what we use. So if we are in the descriptive side, we can use these tools: Microsoft Excel, Power BI, Tableau, which we'll be covering going forward. If we are talking from the predictive analytics side, then R, Python, Gephi we use. If you're talking from the prescriptive analytics side, then R and Python, or there can be other tools also which might be in the market which you can use. TensorFlow is one more thing which you can cover. So your role in the field of data science and how they actually interact. So you can be a person who is from the data engineer perspective but thinking to go towards the data analyst side, okay? Or you can be a business stakeholder who want to understand the data science from a business perspective. Okay, so these three stakeholders, or maybe these three parts, are there, and how they interact, which we are going to just cover in a bit of a time. So if you see data engineer, they help from the data operationalization perspective, as in they'll be extracting the data, putting it in good format, that okay, yeah, this is the data which you are going to use. Once they provide that data to the business, then data scientists or data analysts, they work on the optimization of that data, they work on analysis of that data. These are provided to the business stakeholders who help in monetization of that data, or maybe monetization of the business from that data, because they are the ones who are going to take charge of that business decision going forward. From a source perspective, you can just go through more in this particular direction. And lastly, I just wanted to cover on the analytics frameworks also, as in this is a CRISP DM framework, as in we are having data all over the place, but how actually there is an interaction between one particular industry to another, or maybe how there is an interaction between data or science to statistical modeling, or maybe from the analytics perspective. So those interactions need to have a framework, and thus this framework is used worldwide. This framework is CRISP DM framework. We call it CRISP-DM, CRISP DM framework, which stands for Cross Industry Standard Process for Data Mining Framework. So, what is happening here? It is like first we are understanding the business, you are understanding the data, then you are then preparing that data, then you are modeling, you are putting some models onto it, you're validating whether that model actually works on that. Your visualization, there are some visualizations also which will be involved in it, and accordingly, this is how a process goes by in CRISP-DM framework. Further, if we deep into it also, if we deep dive more into it, if we see that okay, first there is a business understanding, you can see that okay, there is a business understanding. You go about and understand the data also. Okay, you prepare this data, you do the modeling. When remember we discussed about regression, classification, clustering, we'll be discussing about a lot of models and how they actually help us in deriving the best model for the predictive perspective. You do the modeling, you do the evaluation, and then you deploy it in the business. Now what do? When you have deployed it, the data keeps on flowing, but you need to monitor also whether your model is actually giving the right analysis or not, or maybe it's giving the right value or not. So you keep on monitoring. And as you're monitoring, you keep on changing the model also, depending upon which model fits best for your business. So this is the CRISP-DM framework which I wanted to cover. Further going forward, we will be covering a lot of topics in analytics, and one by one we'll be covering all the different areas of analytics, the types of analytics which we discussed before. So thank you for staying with us, and would be happy to see you in the next classes also. Thank you.